Welcome to Speak of the Devil. My name is Reverend Campbell, and I've got a hell of a show for you this week. And a quick note, the lapel pin that I was wearing in that video and the one I'm wearing right now are both from the same gentleman who's joining me tonight. That's right, tonight we're discussing Satanic Celebrations with none other than Magister Frost. How are you, my friend?
It was fine, thank you.
I almost called you my dear out of just habit to talking to someone. That's strange. First, let me give a quick shout out to everyone in the chat room. Thank you guys so much for joining us live. Stormy, it's great to see you. Dallas, thanks for joining so early. Gary, Joaquin, William, Wes, my man, how you doing? Stephanie, it's great to see you. Todd, Shauna, my wife. You're not supposed to be watching this. This is devil stuff. And Dark and Light, good to see you. All right, so again, we're going to be talking about Satanic Celebrations. So I don't know, let's just start from the very beginning here, because I'm sure we're going to have stories that go long here, which are going to be just great. Because with every Satanic Celebration is some form of a mishap, some form of unexpected occurrences, and that's kind of the fun of it, I think. So, Magister Frost, what do you think is the draw for most Satanists to attend or to put on celebrations?
It's definitely being around like-minded people. Mm-hmm. You look at the fact that, I mean, again, the whole aspect of, you know, when you get into Satanism and everything like that is you're looking for other people who think like you. And then as you progress within it, you find people who think like you, but in a lot of cases, they're not local. They're not near you. So you're going to meet people, especially with the internet now, you're going to meet people all over the place. And you're going to want to meet them. You're going to want to do things with them because they are interested in the same things you're interested in. So it's going to be a definite fun time. So the draw is only to meet the people that are like you, and do something fun together.
So I don't know if from the host side versus the attendee side, do you think there's different expectations depending on where you're sitting?
Oh, definitely. You know, from the guest side of it, like with any event that you would ever go to, you go to it, you're the guest, you don't really have much responsibility other than to, you know, be there and do the things that are, you do, you know, you have the aspect of making sure that you are, you know, socially acceptable and, you know, you dress nice and you have, you know, a good personality, you know, bring your top game. But, whereas the host has to plan everything, make sure everything's running good, make sure that there's no problems that come, you know, and if a problem does arise, you got to deal with it as quickly as possible to make sure the event doesn't get affected by it. We ran into many issues in all of the events, and you just have to be, you know, quick on your toes, and it's a lot more stress. You don't necessarily get to enjoy the event like the guest does, but for the host, it's worth it in a different way because you're the one who put on the event. You're the one who had all these people come to this event. And again, you have time to talk to them and meet with them. And, you know, you still get the same feeling, but in a different way than what the guest does.
Do you think that, it's up to the host in order to make the guests have a great experience, or is it up to the host just to set the stage and let the guests make their experience for themselves?
Well, honestly, if you're going to put on an event and you're going to bring X number of people to this event, which, I mean, we've had events that have been anywhere from 8 to 250 people.
Jeez.
As the host, you need to make sure that you have enough things planned for people to do together. But then you also need to give the people who come time to venture out on their own at the given place that you have planned this event at. You don't necessarily have to plan their day 24/7, but you should have at least one group thing done at least per day while the event runs. Some events are only 2 days, some events are a week. We had an event that was almost 2 weeks long. So the longer the time of the event, again, the more it's harder to plan everything. But then the guests themselves should also do the research of where they're going, because there is going to be downtime, and they can go and view some interesting monument or whatever that's in that area during that time to keep themselves occupied.
Yeah.
And nobody should ever be bored. If you get bored, quit while you're ahead.
I do kind of feel like if you're bored as an attendee, it's kind of on you. Like, I mean, you should at least know what is going to be happening every single day or the day of. And so it's kind of on you to fill the gaps. And like you said, one aspect of that is going to be researching the area and finding interesting things to do, or commiserate with other attendees and, create your own little side gigs or whatever. But to just expect the host to dote on you or something, it's unrealistic, I guess, is my point. For example, any of the COS. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, just to expect to be entertained all the time. Because again, personalities are personalities. They're going to clash here and there, whatever. You may not necessarily get all the time with X person that you wanted or whatever, because their time is filled with the other people there. Yeah. So yeah, you need to be able to entertain yourself when you can't, when you have downtime.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about is the ritual side of this, because ultimately I think for virtually every, if not every Satanist coming into this that is willing to participate in magic of any form, satanic magic, well, then a gathering is really an opportunity for a group ritual. And that's this enticing and exciting idea to someone who's never been a part of one before. Do you think that that's an expectation of every type of celebration, that there has to be a ritual component to it to make it feel like it's a satanic celebration?
No, definitely not. The event we had in 2001, we did not have a ritual at it at all. But what made it satanic was the fact that we all came together and we went to a place that we all felt was a very satanic designed place. It was Thrillania, which it's a haunted house here in Terrell, in Dallas. Terrell's, an hour or something east. It's on 26 acres of land.
Oh, wow.
And it has 7 full attractions plus a midway. It has many of little attractions. So it has the ability to keep you entertained literally all day. It was an amazing place. When I first moved down to Texas, Magister Sprague introduced me to Lance Pope, who actually created this entire theme park that was haunted by hand. He built the house. The house is 2 stories. It was almost 10,000 square feet, and it took you about 20 minutes to walk through it. Whereas most haunted houses, you're in and out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
This house, it had a graveyard, a swamp. It took you 20 minutes just to get to the house. Amazingly designed. He did all the props himself. He built the werewolf costumes by hand.
Wow.
Latex, the masking, and ultimately it's what he ended up dying of. He literally put it into his work. But and it also became this labyrinth, which was a very integral kind of funhouse type thing. He had a seance theater with an anatomical, like old granny, gypsy type woman, and she would tell you this story and kind of read you fortune while you're watching this show, and fire would come out. It was real cool.
Oh, wow.
They had a dead wedding chapel that did some stuff, and then there were a couple other houses. But I mean, literally, you were there all night long. It was the most amazing thing. And when I met Lance, he definitely shared our values. He just had no interest in the religion aspect of it, but he definitely, he would be the de facto Satanist.
Mm-hmm.
But he lived on the property, and he had lions and tigers and a pack of wolves. And we used to go play. So it became the place that our people would love.
Wow.
So I got to the point where I said, you know what? We need to invite everyone to come experience this thing. And that's what started the 2001 Conclave.
Oh, wow.
We got all the planning done, got all the transportation, took care of the hotels, everything like that, and then invited all the people, and they flew down, and we had one hell of a week.
A whole week, too.
But if you look at it, I mean, the ritualization, is greater magic. It's, an environment where you are doing something to magically make something happen. But if you look at, Doctor always described magic and everything like that, is you don't always necessarily need that. Sometimes the things you do are the rituals. Yeah. It's just not formal. And if you really look at how we all came together, the energy that happened that night, it kind of became its own ritual without being a formal ritual.
Yeah.
Because something was definitely happening that night.
Well, we've got some photos that we're going to be getting to here in just a second. I do like that idea that you just touched on as well, that the event itself becomes a ritual. And ultimately, when you sort of strip away the idea of what a satanic ritual is, it's a shared experience with a common goal. And that is clearly what you had set up and executed with that particular experience as well. So, I mean, how could it not be, That's really fantastic. What about, I mean, you had just mentioned like the logistical side of it, of setting up hotel rooms and transportation and stuff, and then having the people show up. So for those out there who may be tuning in or at some later time are trying to plan their own events, what are some tips you can give? Because if you don't know how many people would actually show, how do you set up the appropriate room size? Or like, do you put out feelers first to make sure that you have the right block of rooms set aside? Like, how do you set that up logistically?
Definitely you put out feelers to a general audience, just to, give people, this is kind of my idea of what I'm thinking about doing, and see if it's something they would be interested in. Mm-hmm. Because even at gas, you still are, you're still spending money on airfare. You're still spending money on, standard food for your downtimes, or you're spending money on, museums or whatever you're going to go to during your downtime. So you have to think, okay, is this event worth it for me to spend, let's say, $1,000 for? It's not cheap. So you put out feelers, is this a good idea? Because, again, for some people, it's going to be a good idea, but, we have a broad-based membership, and they're spread throughout the entire world, and you really have to weigh the cost towards value. Mm-hmm. It's great to go visit, North Dakota, but there, is it going to be interesting for me? That's where you run into it. So you definitely need to get feelers for approximately a small amount. Are people going to be interested in it? Is it a good idea?
Yeah.
Then from there, I mean, you just have to start going, okay, what am I going to do with these people for how long? Because you are close. They're going to come to you. There are going to be expectations. You could just say, hey, yeah, I want 50 people to come over and hang out with me. Yeah, you're not going to get a whole lot of people that are going to say, okay.
Yeah.
But if you say, I want 50 people to come and do this, and do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do, and everybody's going to be like, oh, hey, that sounds like a great idea. I would really like to do those things. So again, the Thrillvania thing. It's something that isn't anywhere else in the world. So it was something interesting. So, I put the feelers out. People said, hey, yeah, this is going to be a great idea. We've seen pictures. We've seen video. This is someplace we want to see. So from there, we just started planning everything. The nice thing with events in most cases is once you find a hotel in your area or something like that, they have no problem blocking out, select amount of rooms for your event because people are going to need rooms. So, if you don't, pay for it or help them pay for it or whatever, they usually give you some type of a discount for the block of the rooms, and they make sure that the rooms are available for your guests. If the small chance happens that you either get more guests or they do something wrong with the rooms, there's always hotels everywhere. So that's really not a problem. But then you have to make sure that you secure transportation for all of these people. Thrillvania was literally an hour and 15 minutes from where we had everybody stationed at a hotel. So I had to book out with a limo service that actually rented out buses. And we took multiple buses that drove us out there and picked us up. And the problem with being a host in some cases is you have to, the way I've always believed it and the way I've felt is these people are coming to me.
Yeah.
They're coming to something that I have planned. So in my aspect, I should front the cost for, certain aspects of it. I should not have to expect them to pay for everything themselves. In a lot of cases, they could just come here on their own, You're the one organizing this event. You're the one doing it. I mean, it's like a concert. I mean, in theory, you pay for the ticket, but, the concert venue and everything, they pay for the stage hands, this, that, parking, whatever.
Right.
I look at it that I don't want to throw up an event and just say, okay, here's what we're going to do, and then you guys take care of figuring out everything. So, for, the transportation, we paid extra money to get the hotel rooms cheaper. And we paid for it. Every one of our events, we have a huge party. So we rent out a huge room and we pay for the food and the alcohol and all the beverages and the entertainment and, literally everything. Because they're coming to my party. It's like if you just hosted a party at your house, you're going to have, appetizers and food and beverages for all your friends to come over. It's the same thing. It's just a gracious host.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of, there's been a handful of COS gatherings, like official gatherings. And I think probably the most famous of all is going to be the 6606 ritual. And I don't have a whole bunch of photos or anything. I just want to throw this up as a sort of placeholder as we're having a conversation about the different types of rituals that have happened in the past. And again, we're going to get more into some of the ones that you have thrown as well. So this was in Los Angeles, California, and it was a massive, really just a celebration of the date. And then, put on a whole theatrical performance. Is this one that you attended?
Yes.
Can you speak to this a little bit? What was the experience like?
Yeah, it was an amazing event. We all, God, it was a blur. Let's go with that. The event was very well done. The ritual, it was nice that, you entered into the venue, everyone had time to talk, kind of, get out a little bit of that excited jitter of everyone being in the same room kind of thing, which was really nice before the festivities started. And then, again, can't go into a whole lot of detail just because. But once the festivities started, everyone was already in that mindset. It made it an extremely powerful performance. So, I mean, after it was done, I mean, you felt amazing. And then everybody, walked out of that, and we got back together and all talked and had an amazing time. It was a very phenomenal event.
David in the chat room said he's the one that walked into the glass door.
Yes. Those things.
That's funny. Yeah, this is one of the things that I think it's telling about a ritual where, not just a ritual, but a celebration where once it's over, you should feel the energy of that event, of that celebration. I can only imagine this was just sort of off the charts, and just going off of the one that I attended with the official COS group, that was pretty damn spectacular. And so, I don't know, do you run into a lot of drama in these events, or is everyone pretty much in the same place?
Well, in a lot of cases, again, depending on how large the event is, you've got, so many different personalities. And we don't all get along. That's just not an expectation that you should ever have.
Yep.
So there is drama in certain aspects, but I believe it's more contained at events just because everyone is on their best behavior, because there are so many people right there. Again, it's completely different when you're behind a computer. It's that whole anonymity, where you can't get punched in the face through your monitor. So people talk shit, a lot worse than they would in person. There's been drama here and there, but again, it's mostly contained. And it's never at, one of the, I would say, planned events, or, at the 6606 thing, there's nothing. At the ritual itself, there would be no drama. Yeah. Afterwards, everyone went to the bar, I believe the night after or something, there was some drama. But again, you get a bunch of people drinking, and, we're all out on our own, and who knows. It's some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But, and then I think a group of us went to, one of the other pseudo-satanic things that was running at the same time, and they caused some drama over there, and those people caused some drama. It was just a mess. But, but again, these are all people. They all have free will. They all have the ability to do things. You as a host, you try and keep it contained, but it's people do what they do.
Yeah. After this one, there was a couple years later, the Hellfire Cave ritual. Now, I've spoken to Magister Magus Gilmore. I've spoken to Magister Nadramia. I've spoken to Magister Lang about this particular event. I talked to Reverend Palmer, and just people who had been there at the time or around it. And that sounded like a pretty stellar ritual, and some pretty silly hijinks based off of it as well. Is that one that you attended?
No, that was not one I went to. But yes, from the stories I heard, I in a cave. Hello. It was a phenomenal event from the stories that I heard also. But it's not one that I attended.
Yeah, I really love this story that they were going to have this guar phallus that sprayed over all of the congregation during the ritual, and ended up like breaking and like shooting across the room and stuff. Like, This is, I mean, we're talking about having and planning these sort of celebrations, and ultimately you have to sort of, take these strange occurrences that are going to crop up, whether it's a person acting out or whether it's a system in place that fails. I mean, you have to be able to move on your feet and address the issue. You can't just sort of go into a corner and huddle in a fetal position and hope it goes away. So I think that's also a measure that people need to have when considering planning a ritual. Are you capable, or a celebration, are you capable of handling it if shit hits the fan? Like, can you maneuver, situations?
That pretty much, puts the host on the spot. But also, if you can't handle the shit that when it hits the fan, in most cases, if you go to ever plan another event again, people aren't going to show up because they're going to remember their time at the last one.
Yeah.
It gives you your difference between a good host and a bad host. Because everyone wants to throw a party, of course. I mean, they're amazing things. When you hear the stories about them, they're phenomenal. But not everyone will throw a party. There's some people who can plan it, and there's some people who can't.
Yeah.
It's which one you want. If you come to the conclusion that you are going to plan a party, you plan it and it goes poorly, your best aspect is either one, figure out how to plan a better party next time, or just let someone else do it and be the guest. Because you can still take time. Because as a host, it is stressful. And you have to be, if you can't handle it, then people aren't going to come to your events and look disappointed, and it looks bad on you.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, when we're talking about celebrations, there's kind of two types. There's the private ones that an individual member puts out, and they can invite whomever they like. And then there's the organizational ones, the official gatherings, two of which we've already spoken to, where every COS member in good standing is welcome to join, and usually with a +1 or a significant other. And because they are such big to-dos, because it takes so much planning to get so many people together, you have to sort of look ahead and really do this planning months and months in advance just to make sure that everything falls in place and there's not a lot of last-minute issues popping up. I remember the Church of Satan's Year 50 celebration in Washington, D.C. That was a really great one where, we definitely were planning months in advance, and you get there and there was a couple events, and that was kind of it. There was a dinner and then a ritual, but it was being in the presence of all these other individuals that you have interacted with online, over the phone or in person before, together, this collective experience that as Satanists is very rare. I mean, it doesn't feel like it now that we have the internet and social media, but Satanists don't normally hobnob and hang out all the time together. It's very rare to get, again, you've already touched on it, where we just have different lifestyles and opinions, and, sometimes it can rub each other the wrong way. But to be in a group on those rare occasions and collectively as an organization celebrate whatever that is, it's a pretty spectacular experience, I'd say. And though the Year 50 celebration was much more of this sort of stripped down affair, certainly compared to the 6606, but it was also a very much stripped down affair compared to the next year in 2016 of the 50th anniversary celebration. And so there's a little bit of, strangeness in that, there's a Year 50 and then a 50th year celebration back to back. But the Year 50 I didn't attend, the 50th anniversary that was in Poughkeepsie up in New York, I didn't attend that one. Did you visit that one?
No, sir.
Yeah. I've heard great things about it, but
with Xander being born, we were limited on traveling at the times.
Yeah, understandably. That's exactly why I didn't go either, is because I had just gone to DC the year before, and I was just like, what, I gotta spend some of my money on the family. I can't always just go play with it all. But I didn't hear anything negative come out of that one. We had one incident in the one that I attended where it was just one former member calling out a current member like out of nowhere, which was really strange. But it didn't lead anywhere, and it just sort of like was diffused immediately after. And so, life just sort of went on. But to speak to the point that you had made after the 6606 celebration, where there's this sort of energy in the air and everyone just felt really great, it was the same situation after this Year 50 event in DC, where you feel amazing, and being able to share time with people that you don't ever get to see is really refreshing. But I have to say, after 2 days, I was very ready to leave. Like, I was just, what, are you like this too, where you can only stand people for so long? Like, a week is a long time.
You would have absolutely hated being at the 2005 event I held. That was, since it was in Las Vegas, and it was centered around also my first wedding. Mm-hmm. But we invited, literally everyone.
Oh, geez.
And that event lasted, anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks long.
Holy shit.
And everybody left. Everybody came in at the time, but then everyone left at different periods of time throughout the 2 weeks that we were there. Mm-hmm. So it was a massive undertaking. But it already had, all the hotels scheduled, and then, my ex-wife now, we stayed at every single hotel every night throughout the Strip. Oh, so it was a different hotel. So other people had also moved around different hotels. But we had, the wedding was the big thing, the reception. We threw a huge party for everyone at the Hard Rock Hotel. We rented out the musician suite or whatever. It's like, it's almost half a floor by itself.
Damn.
It's at like Guns N' Roses trashed and everything. So.
Hell yeah.
And we had a huge party there. And then we did, a bunch of sightseeing together. We went down and we, took over entire lounges and it was basically just Satanists only for the most part. Mm-hmm. And we all sit down there and we would literally talk until the sun came up.
Wow.
One night I sat down there with Magister Nemo and we talked for close to 9 hours before we realized that we had to get up early in the morning with later. And we're like, oh, cool. But you lose track of time when you're around, the people that you've talked to and you get to meet them and the energy's flowing and you lose track of time. It's an amazing thing.
Hell yeah. 9 hours.
Yeah, that forever. So after the 2 weeks, I never had a problem with it because there were so many people there. There was so much interaction. There was so much energy. I really did not sit there and go, God, I wish everyone would go home because I do my own thing or whatever. We all enjoyed doing the same thing. So anything we had planned, there was always a group of people that, we're in, let's go.
Yeah.
And you'd experience it with all those different minds, mm-hmm. and you'd see things from different perspectives. It was phenomenal. But I know some people that, after a period of time, I need to recharge and be alone,
Yeah.
And I'm an introvert by general. I can't handle, in a lot of cases, I can't handle a lot of social interaction. I have to recharge. But when I'm around other Satanists in these, events, it's not affected for me. I feel the energy, I feed off the energy, and it just becomes something amazing, and it could go forever.
Yeah. Well, this was the last, the 50th anniversary official celebration that we've had that was sort of organizational. But again, you've been speaking about some of the private ones that you set out, and you sent me some photos from the 2001 Thrillvania experience. Can we look at some of these and you tell us what we're looking at here? I'll sort of describe it because you're on the other side of the camera here, but it's the birthday cake.
Yeah, that was the part of the 2001 event that we had. That event was actually a very select group. We had about 30 members come down, but it was mostly all hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Magister Barton came down with Xerxes. H.P. Gilmore, H.P. Dramia, tons of magisters and priests and of all various shapes and sizes. But the cake was because it was Xerxes' 8th birthday. So nice. We had the party that we threw for everyone, which you'll see other pictures from the party, but we had a birthday celebration for him.
That's great. High holiday for the young man. All right, so right now we're looking at a very young you with high priest and high priestess. Looking very, very young. So when was this?
Also at the party. Mm-hmm. That was just, everyone, when you've got everyone together, you all got to take pictures of each other. So that was, H.P. Gilmore and H.P. Dramia, and we were just all dressed to the hilt, and everyone did photo shoots. So that was a photo together.
That's great. And so this next one, it's like a bouquet of flowers with someone in the corner.
Yeah. Yes, that was. I had LaRue Delachey come down from Minnesota, and that was the time that we had just finished releasing his new CD because I produced it for him with the record that I had back then. So I flew him down, and he serenaded us all night long on the piano.
Oh, wow.
And amazing. Because we made sure that we rented out a large enough venue that actually had a grand piano in it. And so we had him, and he just being as classically musically inclined as he was, he just sat on that piano and just played all night long. It was amazing. Oh, so normally you would have speaker background music or whatever for your event, whereas we had live music as the background music.
That's badass.
Playing on the piano, and they just have conversations, and he's talking and going and talking. I mean, he was amazing.
Wow, that's great. So this next one here looks like everyone walking to the haunted house event or something.
Yeah, that one's in the field. Mm-hmm. That at Thrillvania, Lance's private area was well away from the rest of the haunted house area. So you actually had to take this dirt trodden trail and you all the way into the back. It was almost close to a mile, not quite a mile, but it's pretty close to get to where the lions are. So this is all of us, or actually that's probably half of us. The other half's around the corner already, heading towards the lions, because most of the members had never, you go to a zoo, you see a lion, you see a tiger, but they're always behind glass or something like this. In this case here, everyone got to touch them.
Oh shit!
So you had 100-pound African male lion leaning against the bars, and you got to put your hand on him and just feel him breathing. And then, I mean, there's times that I went in and, you can play with the tigers because they're still babies.
Yeah.
3 months old, they're, still massive things, but they're not super dangerous. So everyone got to, kind of play with the tigers, and the wolves were completely friendly, so everyone got to play with the wolves. But just 900-pound African lion breathing on you was phenomenal and an experience.
That's heavy, man.
that was during the day before the haunted house opened in the evening.
Right. So the image I'm looking at now, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at. There's a building in the background with a bunch of fence posts, like
Yeah,
tall.
that's Cassandra. When we first got off the buses, that's where they dropped us off. So then Cassandra's Labyrinth is the building you're seeing behind you, which is the funhouse area, and everyone is congregating in the beginning area so we could tell them what was going to happen and what we're going to do. So it was our congregation place to start the event.
Nice. And then I've got someone breathing fire.
And that is Magister Sprague. Again, he knew Lance. He would perform a haunted magic show every hour on the hour. So he would do stage magic in a haunted, spooky but funny way. And one of his tricks was, he's a fire breather. So not only does he do, sleight of hand and stage magic, he also breathes fire. And he came up with all of these amazing haunted magic acts. So like the coffin that's behind him was his finale, where he would put his assistant into the coffin and light her on fire.
Oh shit.
And he would make the coffin sides pop down, and all you'd have was this smoldering corpse. But the fun thing, she never came back. Love. So, but again, the next hour you'd see her again. But, the end of the magic trick wasn't to, show your assistant all well. It's to, she died. So,
that's great.
And he would bring somebody up on stage every performance and do something super scary, because to watch the, patrons' expression when they're about to be beheaded, and they don't quite, you're in a haunted theme park, you're being chased by costumed people, and all of a sudden now you're up on stage and this guy is going to literally behead you. Is it? And so the reactions you get from some of the people are hilarious. I mean, they get scared.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, he killed you, there would be cops involved, they get shut down, you got to think. But it's great to how the people get involved in the act.
Oh, that's great.
It was a lot.
So what are some of the best memories you have of putting on these events?
In a lot of aspects, the main event is a phenomenal memory. Like with the haunted house, I mean, just to watch everyone experience it, to see the reaction on their face, to see them having a good time, was, that's a great memory, because you've put on a successful event. But I think in a lot of cases, my best memories for the events are the straight one-on-one conversations you have with the people that you've known for so long, but you may have never met before, or you only get to see them every couple of years. I think it's more the bonding time, or just we did a dinner at a very fancy restaurant here in Dallas called Del Frisco's, and just to put 30 people around a table at the same time in a place that are all Satanists and watch what happens is phenomenal. It's probably my best memory, because we're all sitting there, we're having conversations, we're eating dinner, and we're doing stuff, and the wait staff is coming and they're tending to our every need and everything like that. But there was one waitress that she kept reaching over Magister Nemo's shoulder to, put down this plate or put down this cup or do this knife thing or whatever. And he started to get kind of annoyed with her because she kept choosing him. So he ends up taking his napkin and he molds it into a bunny rabbit. And then he sticks his knife into his hand with the bunny rabbit, and every time she reached over, he put his arm up and pretend to stab her with it. It's just watching this unfold, and she is completely unaware of it, and we're just, I mean, we died laughing, because you've got this, you know, who is the greatest guy, and he just builds this bunny rabbit out of his napkin, which was super cute, and puts a knife in there. It was hilarious. I mean, you don't, it's not what you plan, it's what happens when you get all these amazing people together in the same spot.
Yeah.
And you just watch the personality unfold. That's where the memories come in.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So, I had a friend come over, and we did a satanic baptism for him, but a bunch of different people were able to collaborate all together, at my place, for this event that ended up lasting almost a full week, almost. And it was just like day after day of shared experiences, whether we went up into the mountains hiking, or we went through a memorial park, or, we did the ritual itself, or dinner and barbecue. And it was just this constant evolving experiences. And as we shared more time together and we got to know each other better, you realize that the connection was shifting and changing like right before your eyes, which is really interesting, because at first, whenever you meet someone for the first time in person, there's a little bit of distance and awkwardness. And by the end, everyone was hugging and, sort of genuinely missing each other as they're leaving. And that, I think, is the most powerful part of all of this, is that you never expect to make dear friends. You just expect to have, oh, well, that's another Satanist. We may have something in common and we can chat for a little bit. But being able to just naturally evolve into dear friends is something that is pretty special about this whole thing, because I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to make friends. And this was just like instantaneous, with handfuls of people. Is that your experience too?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, yeah, hard to make friends is a, that's an understatement. But I think more of, I don't want to make friends. Mm-hmm. Definitely through life, as in the city you're in or whatever, you have the opportunity to make the friends. I just run to the aspect that I don't want to, because it's not worth my time. Mm-hmm. The things that I have made in the organization are worth my time. I would rather spend my time on those people, because they are of greater value to me than, Joe Blow on the street. Mm-hmm. In my environment here, I have very select people. Very few people ever are allowed inside this house. But, I have acquaintances where I will talk with people outside, but they are not in my inner circle. They don't know the in and outs of my life. Whereas the people in the organization do know the in and outs. And, there are, select members of the organization that are fully welcome anytime they want. Mm-hmm. Because that bond, and, they're of the like mind that my energy is very well, used on them as opposed to somebody else.
Right.
So, it is of more value. It is more beneficial, to spend your time with these people.
Yeah. One of the, and we've spoken to it in general terms earlier on, one of the drawbacks of these is that you will have things happen that you don't plan. They're just sort of mishaps. Do you have any of those you'd like to share?
Oh God. Okay. All right. I'll do the socially awkward one. We had a smaller, again, the 2001 conclave and the 2005 were the large events. Mm-hmm. But over the years, we've had smaller events, also at Throwvania and, at other places around Texas. But we did host a small event at Throwvania probably somewhere around 2008, 9, probably about 2009. And we invited some people from Oklahoma. I mean, there were people that flew in from other areas. But we were all in the haunted house. We were actually out front of Magister Sprague's stage. And we were all in a circle, kind of having a conversation, just talking about some stuff. And Family Guy was real popular back then. So, we were all like, oh, talking about Family Guy and, the certain aspects of, slight satanic stuff we find on the show. Mm-hmm. We were having this conversation, and one of the girls who we had invited that no one had ever met before, so we didn't quite know what to expect from her. She kind of wanders right into the middle of our circle. And while we're all having this conversation, she just stares up at me and goes, I like Family Guy. I like Family Guy. I like Family Guy. And over and over and over. And I don't really know where to go with that. Because there was no other part of the she was in the conversation. She just wanted to be part of the conversation. Yeah. But didn't have the skills needed to interject herself properly. So in the moments, you'd be like, okay, whatever, but again, you're surrounded by a bunch of people, and you've got to handle this politely, and you've got to be on your toes and be like, what do you like? And try and linger into the conversation that she can't seem to get herself into. Yeah. But at the end of it, it became funny. It became kind of a joke. We're like, oh my God. So it kind of became a running issue the rest of the evening.
You sat in nowhere. I mean, they're Family Guy. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I had one where, I'm sorry, I cut you off. What was that?
But you also run into the fact that, again, when you invite a bunch of members in, like another issue is you end up sometimes as the host, or let's say as a magister of the organization, and you've got this group of people, you're going to get sometimes some people that are going to kind of latch on to you. And again, they don't understand personal boundaries or anything because maybe they're not around a lot of people. So that's another situation that you may run into is you don't get left alone. You end up like getting little dogs or something following around, and you have to be able to handle that situation also without offending people or causing a scene. Mm-hmm. I mean, you are the host. You need to handle it properly.
Yeah. I think that's a learned skill too, because what you did in trying to help her interject herself properly or trying to welcome her awkwardness and make it less awkward, that's not something a lot of people do. And it would have been very easy just to openly mock her in the situation. But, it takes a little bit of class and a little bit of experience in order to try to handhold her and let everyone understand that, this is something that we're going to go down. It's going to take a little bit longer, but we're all going to experience this, and we're going to try to make her feel included rather than, just sort of turn your back, for example.
I mean, most definitely. You are the host. You've invited these people down. You have to deal with the fact that you don't know everyone's personality. You may have never met or even talked to some of these people. But you need to be able to handle the situation in a respectful and proper manner. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you shouldn't be the host. I mean, that's just ridiculous if you're going to mock people. She came back the next year that we did the next event because she had a great time. In every event that we have held, we have never had anyone ever say that they had a bad time or that it was not of value or worth it for them. We've had, everyone is like, when's the next one? What are we doing? When are we doing this again? Mm-hmm. And that's the type of party you have to have if you're going to do this. Because, these are our like-minded friends. They should all be treated as friends when you're hosting an event. What you guys do, online or whatever, later or whatever, that's completely different. But at your event, everything needs to go smoothly.
Yep. Well, I also want to make sure that we clarify for people that if you are considering putting anything together, don't let your fear dictate whether or not you do it. Just make sure that you have everything planned out and you're prepared for what could happen. And then the other side of it is ensuring that you've reached out to people and you have confirmation that people are in fact going to show. There's nothing worse than not getting firm yeses and then no one is there and you're just sort of sitting there, or just one person shows up because you weren't clear about a time or a place or something. I mean, you want to make sure that, again, as you had just mentioned, everyone has a good experience, and that means communicating effectively and clearly about what is expected, what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what people need if they need to bring something, for example, as well. Certainly, if there's like a ritual or something, you need to bring your stuff, your robe.
Yeah, in Las Vegas for the ritual we had in the Luxor with everyone, it was extremely impromptu, and we had very little supplies. So you can imagine there was, I think, about 25 people literally running throughout all of the hotels and the gift shops, just clamoring to find, a bell, a gong, what we could use as a ritual sword. And I mean, you just see, okay, you're this team. This is what you need to find. You're this team. This is what you need to find. And everyone did, okay, and then we all just whoosh. And it was funny that half later, everyone comes back and we're like, we got this. We've got this. Yeah, I think we got enough. Let's do this. Hilarious. Because, I mean, you look at the Luxor. The shape of the Luxor, the design is extremely magical. If you've ever been inside of it, it is, I mean, I don't see how that hotel stays standing. Just to look over the edge, top of it, and not be able to see anything below you except the floor. No, because all the rooms go like this. I mean, it was crazy. So we were like, this is an awesome place to actually do a ritual. Plus, all of the rooms had odd angles. Nothing was quite square. Nothing was perfect. I mean, heck, the doors didn't even close right. It was the perfect place to do it. So, but we were all like, oh, crap, we don't have anything. So it's everybody clamoring, and it's think on your feet.
That's awesome.
Get it done.
Yeah.
It was much fun. I mean, it was the same thing with when we had to get wine for the party. We had a couple members that were, well versed in wine. Mm-hmm. So we all had to go find a liquor store to get the alcohol in the wine. So you've got this right before the party. You've got, I think it ended up being, it was probably close to 15 guys, all dressed to the hilt in suits, ties, and fedoras. And we are all in 2x2 through the hotel, or through the lobby of the hotel. And I'm like in the lead because I'm heading everyone to where it's going, and everyone else is kind of behind me. And just to watch all the people in the casino, it was like parting of water. We were like Moses. I mean, everyone just saw this large group of fedora wearing men, and I'm sure they were thinking, oh my God, the mob's here. Oh shit. Starts partying out of the way. I mean, normally you can't walk down the street without getting hit in the shoulder by somebody who doesn't want to move out of your way. And I mean, it was just a parting of the sea right to the door.
That's great. Oh, this has been a lot of fun. We're already at an hour here, so I think we should probably wind this down. Any last suggestions or experiences or words of wisdom for other people that you want to share before we close the conversation?
Well, I mean, yeah, in a lot of aspects, if you're going to plan a party or you're going to plan an event, you need to, before you even announce anything, you need to literally plan the whole thing out from start to finish. I mean, from the point of you're going to send messages or you're going to invite people this way. And who are you going to invite? who are you going to allow to come to this event? So like the 2001 party was basically only the hierarchy was invited. But the 2005 event that I had, a general audience was more invited. And then the events further on than that was even more general. So who is your target audience for this event? Because you need to plan around the types of people that are going to be there. Mostly for us hierarchy members, we all know each other. We've been around. We're all pretty comfortable with each other. So having a hierarchy only event really doesn't take a whole lot of planning as far as people interaction. But you start including, newer members, or let's open it up to all COS members throughout the world. That right there, a major planning, because you have no idea who's going to show up. You have no idea who they're going to bring. If you allow a +1 or a +2 or whatever. So you need to plan that event and every single step of it to the end before you even invite a single person. Because once you've got that plan and you know how your event is going to flow, you can then present that to the people. You can, give them the game plan, find out who's going to be interested, find out whether this is a good enough event, and you've already got the plan, to, in case as the event goes through, that you can be able to handle any bumps or, mishaps that happen. You also will know people that are there, so you'll be able to handle all that. But you also need to plan something that's worth going to. It needs to be amazing. We don't do small. We don't do fast. That's the other people. We do it. We're the elite. That's what it is. So you plan an event that is an event. And understand that you also need to plan an event that you're going to spend money on. You cannot expect all these people to just do everything for you. That's not hosting an event. Then that would be a guest. And at that point, you also need to just enjoy the event. Enjoy the people that are there. That's the whole point of getting everyone there. It's really not to go see the thing. It's to experience the thing together.
Right. And
the different personalities, yet the like mind. If you can pull it off, it's an amazing thing. And it can be small and it can be large. It's really up to you.
Yeah.
Because the small events are great also.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much. At the very beginning of this, someone in the chat room was half teasing that we were going to be announcing a special ritual event, a satanic ceremony together since we're having this. So you guys are in luck because we're here. No, we're not going to announce anything. Sorry. It's just been a really wonderful opportunity to discuss satanic celebrations with you, sharing in your experience through the stories and your recollections. And, it's part of what makes, we always say with membership comes benefits, and sometimes when you get an opportunity to attend these satanic celebrations, whether again it is an official event or it's just a individual Satanist putting it together, it is a very special thing. And I've never heard of anything going so badly that they would not want to attend another one. And so if you do get an opportunity, it's not going to be an everyday thing. It's not going to be once a year thing, which is why they're special, which is, why when something does pop up, you should probably pay attention because it's going to go and you're not going to be able to, have those shared memories like everyone else is. And you're not going to know what I Like Family Guy means, ultimately.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting
at. Also, we forgot. When you plan your event, it is also very important not to plan it around someone else's event.
Yep.
A lot of us, we all like to plan events. And sometimes we end up planning the same event in the same year or something. And then you're forcing everyone to pick and choose whose event they have to go to, because in most cases, most people can only go to one event a year or one event every few years. So make sure that you plan your event when no one else is planning it.
Yeah.
So you're not forcing people to.
And that's the other side of it.
Yeah, but where it's just, we can get together and then we'll just not let in.
Yeah. We'll just do another video about what we experienced.
That'll be the official event we're announcing. We're going to have a great event, but no one's invited.
Suckers! All right. Well, thank you so much. Can we give a quick shout out? You've got a nice little necklace there. What's that? Your necklace.
That's my teaser. Because you'll notice the color that we don't carry yet.
Yet.
But soon.
All right, everyone, pay attention. Satan me. That's where it's going to be when it's available. Do you want to give
also shout out, thank you to my lovely camera woman.
Yes, I heard her giggling.
Oh. Yes, yeah, giggling. My background giggler.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us in the chat room and having your conversations amongst each other and sharing your little thoughts about some of the events that you attended and what you thought of it all. I do appreciate it. Your guys' interaction is what makes this format particularly special. It's one thing just having an audio or a video podcast and putting it out there for everyone to sort of consume at their own rate. It's another interacting with you live as we're recording this. And so, again, thank you guys so much for your attention and your time. If you always want to support the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel and sign up to the email list. There's links in the video below that you're watching right now. Master Frost, it is always a pleasure. Until we can speak of the devil again, hail Satan.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir. Hail Satan.